Computer science students are trained to view security as a mathematical absolute. The assumption is that flawless cryptography and impenetrable firewalls guarantee a safe system. But modern adversaries rarely waste computing power trying to crack AES-256. AES-256 is an advanced encryption algorithm used universally to secure sensitive data. Attempting to brute force it is highly inefficient. This diagram shows a secured enterprise network bypassed entirely. Attackers route directly around firewalls to target the most vulnerable endpoint, the human user. This is the human attack surface. Attackers exploit our psychological traits rather than searching for flaws in code. Successful cyber threats rely entirely on how people allocate their attention, how they construct their digital identities, and the automatic habits driving their online behavior. Engineering secure networks is impossible unless developers treat these psychological traits as rigid, unyielding design constraints. The most advanced technical architecture collapses if the person using it is compromised. The battlefield has shifted from the codebase directly into cognitive psychology. Attention span in a digital context is a finite cognitive resource. It determines the exact amount of time a user can focus on a task before distraction interrupts their processing. Modern digital environments are actively hostile to that resource. Users are relentlessly bombarded by overlapping notifications, incoming emails, and social media feeds. This volume of stimuli forces the brain into cognitive overload. To cope, users adapt by processing information incredibly quickly, but highly superficially. Superficial processing strips away a user's natural skepticism, leaving them highly exposed to basic phishing attacks, malicious links, and deceptive pop-ups. Attackers exploit this limitation by engineering malicious prompts that simulate extreme urgency. The objective is to trigger a panic response that bypasses critical thinking entirely. An account-locked warning demanding immediate action puts a distracted user into a defensive state. They click the provided link to resolve the issue without ever verifying the sender's actual email address. The first major cybersecurity insight for engineers is that resilient system design must proceed from a baseline assumption: the user is always distracted. To prevent exploits, systems must reduce their reliance on perfect human vigilance. This requires unignorable, clear warnings and automated failsafes that block execution before the user has the chance to make an error. Beyond attention, there is the vulnerability of identity. An online personality is a digital expression of self that frequently diverges from how a person behaves in the physical world. Total anonymity and a lack of physical presence create the online disinhibition effect, them to behave far more freely and recklessly. This disinhibition leads directly to an increased likelihood of oversharing sensitive personal data on public forums and engaging in high-risk digital interactions. This matrix shows the mathematical correlation between specific personality traits and corresponding cyber risks. High extroversion causes higher baseline exposure. High curiosity correlates with clicking unknown links, risking malware. High trustfulness creates a direct vulnerability to phishing. Threat actors weaponize these traits through identity manipulation. They fabricate personas to impersonate trusted friends, authorities, or organizations. Attackers create fake recruiter profiles on professional networks, leveraging inherent trust to offer fraudulent jobs to vulnerable candidates. The second cybersecurity insight is that humans inherently trust personalities over invisible system checks. Therefore, security awareness protocols must be personalized to address these specific behavioral traits. Systems cannot rely on a user's perception to verify identity. Engineers must build zero-trust architectures. A zero-trust architecture is a security framework requiring all users to be strongly authenticated and continuously validated before being granted access to applications and data. The final major human vulnerability is behavior. These are the ingrained, repeated patterns of how users browse, share, and communicate online. Users rely on habitual behavior to navigate the web efficiently. They perform actions like reusing the exact same password string or clicking familiar-looking links entirely on autopilot. Operating on habit physically reduces the brain's active engagement with a task, creating massive cognitive blind spots that attackers quietly slip through. Social influence acts as a behavioral multiplier. Users will blindly trust and click a trending link simply because their peers have done it, facilitating rapid mass exploitation attacks. This establishes the central conflict for software developers, the perpetual trade-off between user convenience and system security. This scale shows how humans are biologically wired to prefer easy access and fast logins. They actively avoid friction-heavy mechanisms like strong passwords or multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is an access control method requiring 2 or more pieces of evidence to verify a user's identity. The third cybersecurity insight dictates that users will always default to convenience unless they are systematically guided otherwise by the architecture. Engineers must design highly user-friendly security mechanisms and deploy psychological nudges. If a security protocol is frustrating, users will simply find a way to bypass it. This table shows an integrated view of human factors. In the wild, cyber threats rarely exploit a single human weakness. They are meticulously designed to combine all 3 psychological vectors simultaneously. We can observe this by analyzing the exact anatomy of a standard successful phishing attack deployed against an enterprise target. First, the email arrives with a flashing, time-sensitive tag. This is specifically designed to exploit the user's limited, easily overloaded attention span. Second, the email flawlessly forges the name of a direct superior, exploiting the user's inherent personality trait of trustfulness and their bias toward authority. Finally, the payload is hidden within a visually familiar action button, triggering the user's habitual, unthinking browsing behavior. This precise alignment, cognitive overload, misplaced trust, and habitual convenience, is the true root cause of the system breach. It is not a failure of encryption. Cyber threats succeed because they exploit human weaknesses far more often and far more effectively than they exploit actual flaws in code. Mastering the psychology of human error is a non-negotiable requirement for engineering truly resilient cyber infrastructure.